Hi John, hey Jaguars, this is Miss Schooler in her kitchen studio, and this week our library newsletter and activities and lessons are focusing on a special anniversary that is coming up on May 18th, and that is the eruption of Mount St. Helens. It happened 40 years ago in 1980, and we have this book in our library, Volcano by Patricia Lauber, and I wanted to show you a little more close up the pictures that I have on this board here. I'm hoping you can see these. You can see this one is a painting, and you can see that this does not match the reflection. And that's because this was what Mount St. Helens looked like before it erupted, and this is what it looked like after it erupted. And then over here, these are actual photographs. Here it is before, and here it is after. But what I want to focus on today is what it looks like now. 40 years later. This is what it looked like right after the eruption. You can see all the trees are down, and this is a color picture, even though it doesn't look like it's in color, because everything was covered in ash and it was all gray. And then down here, this is what it looks like today. Seeing it. Let me get this up. You can see there's all kinds of wildfire flowers, and you can see a lot more green around the mountain. And if you haven't been to Mount St. Helens, it's a great place to go visit. They have a great visitor center. It's not real close, it's several hours away, but it is a really fun place to go. And in the newsletter, you will see a link to a video that you could watch, the actual, videos that were taken of the eruption, and that about the eruption. There's also a link to some books that you can read online about just volcanoes in general. But the book I want to read to you today is called Gopher to the Rescue, a volcano recovery story, and this is written by Terry Catassis Jennings and illustrated by Lori O'Keefe. And this is published by Arendelle Publishing, and we want to thank them for allowing to read this aloud to you guys. Gopher to the Rescue, a volcano recovery story. Something is different on the mountain. Snowshoe Hare hears the rumble from miles away. Black Bear feels the ground shake beneath her paws. Gopher feels the earth move in his burrow. Steam and ash burst from the top of the mountain. It looks like smoke. Elk has never seen this before. Squirrel sees black smudges on the snowy mountain. The rumblings go on for days. The mountain is changing. A volcano is waking up. But Gopher just digs and digs in his burrow. Early one morning, the animals feel the rumbling and trembling and shaking more terrible than they've ever felt before. They hear a terrible sound. The top of the mountain slides away. Snow and rocks slide down the mountain and into the valley. And then the mountain explodes. The blast from the explosion blows down all the trees. The top of the mountain disappears in a cloud of ash and rock. The volcano is erupting. The animals try to run away. The heat, ash, or the force of the explosion kills many animals. But Gopher is safe in his burrow with plenty of tasty roots and bulbs to eat. When the shaking stops and the roar quiets, Gopher begins to dig again. He digs through soil, and then he digs through gritty, warm ash, sand, and pebbles, and he wonders, where did all this stuff come from? When he reaches the surface, blown down trees cover the landscape like toothpicks. The world is gray and dry and hot. Gopher is not alone. Ant and beetle crawl around on the crust formed by the hot, dry ash. They find plenty of food in the dead wood and plenty of places to hide. From his home under a rotten log, Mouse sticks out his nose. He's confused, but the tree is still home and he has tasty bugs to eat. Even though his world has changed, Gopher digs and digs, and he mixes the soil with from his tunnels with the crusty ash, adding life-giving nutrients. The nutrients help plants to grow. Gopher helps the mountain recover. Salamander and toad pollywogs survive the blast under the ice and in the mud at the bottom of a lake. Come summer, when it's time for them to live their adult life on dry land, they find the world dry and hot. They use Gopher's tunnels to find shade and get around in the hot, dry landscape. They head to the cool, damp forest nearby or to new ponds created in the blast area. Insects return to the mountain right away, flying in on the wind. Spiders float in on silken threads, and seeds blow in from near and far. Days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months. Some seeds take root on top of Gopher's tunnels and grow into plants. Birds also visit the mountain right away and eat tasty bugs and seeds. They perch on small islands of plants and flowers that survived the blast. Weeks pass and months pass, but there are no places to nest. Birds can't live on the mountain. Not yet. Elk often explores the mountain. At first, he finds young trees that survive the blast under the snow. As months turn into years, saplings sprout from seeds, and they're a little snack, but they're not enough for him. He needs to take cover in the shady forest nearby, the forests that were not damaged by the heat or the rocks or buried under the ash. He'll return to live on the mountain when there's plenty of food to eat and plenty of places to rest and hide. Months and years have passed. Slowly hemlocks, firs, fireweed, and lupin grow. Animals visit, and when they can find enough food and shelter, they stay on the mountain. Gopher still digs and digs, looking for new roots and bulbs to eat, making the ground fertile for more seeds to grow. Years have turned into decades. Trees and bushes dot the landscape. Elk, squirrels, snowshoe hares, and black bears are returning to the fertile, new habitat on the mountain. Some areas may never be as they were before the big blast, but of one thing we can be sure. Gopher will still dig and dig, and the mountain will continue to change. And that is Gopher to the Rescue, a volcano recovery story. And so we did see, like this picture here, that the mountain things are starting to grow back on the mountain. So it doesn't look the same way as it did 40 years ago right after it erupted. Now this book, I will also be including a link in my library newsletter to a whole lot of activities that go along with this book. And you can just pick and choose. There's a search a word, there's questions to answer, there's vocabulary, there's coloring sheets, there's all kinds of things you can do with this book. And instead of me just picking and choosing, I just decided I'd give you the whole link and you can look through it and decide to do what you would like. So I hope you enjoy revisiting Mount St. Helens, or if you didn't know anything about it, maybe you'll want to check out some of those volcano books that I will be including in the link. So, and here's Miss Schooler saying goodbye till next week.